As you can see, they are starting to take formation. The night is about to begin for night number 2 of the 2021 racing season at the Bakersfield Speedway. The lights are going out this time. We're going to get the green flag next time off of turn number 4. Inside row number 1, Zach Forster on his outside, Candy Varney, Tim Varney, Hollywood, J.D. Brown outside row number 2. And in row number 3, the 23K of Jayden Cochran. Lights are out. We're going green flag race in action next time off of turn number 4. Zach Forster, the winningest Mod Light racer here at the Bakersfield Speedway, sits on the pole. Jayden Cochran, always one to watch. He won a couple of races in 2019 in the 23K. I know both of those guys have been back east racing. This is not their first race of 2021, and here we go. They are side by side. Green flags in the air, and here we go. Zach Forster leads him down into turns 1 and 2. A little bit of a push out of the 11. Here comes Hollywood, J.D. Brown down the bottom side of a turn number 2. Down the back straight they go. It's Forster into 3 and 4. Here comes Jayden Cochran already up to the number 3 spot. Lap number 1. Give it to Zach Forster. It's Forster. Hollywood, J.D. Brown. Here comes Jayden Cochran now in the 23K. Candy Varney and Tim Varney rounding out the field. Here goes side by side for Hollywood, J.D. Brown and Jayden Cochran. J.D. Brown and Jayden Cochran both have picked up victories in 2021 already in Arizona. But out front, it is Zach on the attack of Forster. Already has about 0.5 seconds, make it 1.5 seconds. That's 3 laps down, 5 laps remaining. Zach Forster out front through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway he goes. Freight train through the middle of the racing surface right now. All of your racing field is through the middle. It's Zach Forster out front halfway through this one. 4 laps down, 4 laps remaining. Jayden Cochran, the number 2 spot. Hollywood, J.D. Brown, Candy Varney, and Tim Varney rounding out your 5-car field. Zach Forster out front by 3.5 seconds over Jayden Cochran, J.D. Brown, Candy Varney, and Tim Varney. That time by for your leader with a 15.178. So rocketing down this 1/3 clay oval. Best battle on the track still is for that number 2 spot of Jayden Cochran and J.D. Brown. White flags in the air one more time around for Zach Forster. It's Forster, Cochran, Brown, your top 3. 2 more corners for Zach on the attack, Forster. Coming off of turn number 4, checkered flags in the air, and Zach Forster picks up heat race number 1. Jayden Cochran in the number 2 spot, J.D. Brown in the number 3. Here comes Candy Varney, the lady driver in the 71, finishing 4th. And Tim Varney in the 17, rounding out that top 5. That's going to do it for heat race number 1. Zach on the attack, Forster picking up the win. Jayden Cochran starting dead last and getting all the way up to the number 2 spot, battling back and forth with Hollywood, J.D. Brown for that number 2 spot. But J.D. Brown finishes 3rd, Candy Varney and Tim Varney. Coming up next is going to be a heat race number 2. Inside row number 1, the 21P of Nick Kachuk. On his outside, the 42 of Richard Granger. Inside row number 2, the 48 of Kenny Cochran. On his outside, the 4C of Cade Lewis. And in row number 3, the 29 of Roy Maynard Jr.
There's our heat lineup. I have a chance I'll put the heat
So it's Nick Kachuk inside row number 1 in the 21P. Richard Granger in the 42, outside row number 1. Inside row number 2, Kenny Cochran in the 48. Cade Lewis, the young man out of Bakersfield, California in the 4C. And Roy Maynard Sr. in the 29. Lights are out. We're getting the green flag this time off of turn number 4. Little mix-up in the stand. We'll get it right. We'll get them back in order. And we'll try it again. The 21P of Nick Kachuk Richard Granger, Kenny Cochran, Cade Lewis, and Roy Maynard. Lineup is good. Nice slow pace down the back straightaway. We're going to get the one to go next time by. So lights will go out this time. We'll get the green flag. They got to be nose to nose right at the cone. You can see the officials down there in turn number 4. They got to be side by side at the cone at the drop of the green flag. Very slow pace laps for heat race number 2. Coming up next will be our California Lightning Sprints heat number 1, followed by the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks, and we'll finish out heat races with the American stocks. Lights are out. We'll get the green flag this time off of turn number 4. Nick Chutnick, Richard Granger, your front row, side by side. Nice slow pace. Our flagman giving him the look off of turn number 4. Green flag's in the air, and here we go. Big jump from the 48 of Kenny Cochran. So Kenny Cochran was on the point. And Roy Maynard. So Cochran down the inside of turns 3 and 4 on his outside. That is Roy Maynard in the 29. So Roy Maynard Jr. up to the point, leads lap number 1. Kenny Cochran in the number 2 spot. Richard Granger, Cade Lewis, Nick Kachuk, Tim Varney, and Zach. The yellow flag is out. We got to run around over there in turns 1 and 2. That looks like the 21P of Nick Kachuk. He gets it fired back up, then get flipped around, have to tag the tail of the field. That is 1 lap down, 7 laps remaining. Out front, it's Roy Maynard Jr., Kenny Cochran, and Cade Lewis. That's your top 3. Waiting on timing and sorting to get all of these cars situated in the correct starting order. Then we'll get right back to racing action. 1 lap down, 7 laps remaining. Roy Maynard Jr. in the number 29 had a very successful 2019 year. Lights are out. We're getting the green flag this time off of turn number 4. Roy Maynard Jr., Kenny Cochran, and Cade Lewis, your top 3. Let's see if Roy Maynard Jr. can hold off Kenny Cochran in the 48K. They're nice and slow and tight coming into 3 and 4. Green flag's in the air, and here we go. Roy Maynard Jr., big advantage coming off of turn number 2. Down the back straight, he has 4 cars already. Here comes Cade Lewis now. Cade Lewis in the number 2 spot in the 4C. So it's Maynard, Lewis, Granger, and Cochran, your top 4. They're side by side coming down the back straight for the number 3 spot. Three laps down, 5 laps remaining for Roy Maynard Jr. He has 1.095 seconds back to Cade Lewis in the number 2 spot. Lewis down to the bottom side of turns 3 and 4, trying to make up some time. But out front, it is Roy Maynard Jr. Halfway through this one, 4 laps down, 4 laps remaining for Roy Maynard Jr. We got one around off of turn number 2. That's the 42 of Richard Granger. Granger comes to a stop on the apron of turn number 2, and that's going to bring out caution. Caution number 2 coming out for the 42 of Richard Granger. Getting it wrong off of turn number 2, gets it flipped around and got stuck behind the tire. The tractor tire coming off of 2, that brings out caution number 2. So out front, that's going to bring Cade Lewis to the back bumper of Roy Maynard Jr. in the number 29. He's got 3 laps to work to see if he can get around Roy Maynard Jr. to pick up heat race number 2. Lineup is red. We'll get the one to go this time by. Roy Maynard Jr. from Bakersfield, California. A bunch of Bakersfield natives in heat race number 2. Roy Maynard Jr., Cade Lewis, Kenny Cochran, Nick Kachuk, Richard Granger, Tim Varney. Lights are out. We got 3 laps remaining for heat race number 2 for the IMCA Mod Lights. All cars will make it to the A main event. Once again, slow creeping pace down the back straightaway. Roy Maynard Jr. is out front. Cade Lewis, Kenny Cochran, second and third. Does Cade Lewis have anything for Roy Maynard Jr.? Green flags in the air. We got 3 laps to see. Nice restart from Roy Maynard Jr. Good drive off of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway. Nice and straight into turns 3 and 4. Cade Lewis, a little bit of a push in the center of 3 and 4. Up the hill he goes. Here comes the 48 now of Cochran. 6 laps down. We'll get the white flag next time off of turn number 4. White flags in the air. One more lap for the 29 of Roy Maynard Jr. He's got 1.6 back to Cade Lewis, who has 0.566 back to Kenny Cochran. 2 more corners for Roy Maynard Jr. And coming to the stripe, your winner, Roy Maynard Jr. Cade Lewis in the number 2 spot. Kenny Cochran, Nick Kachuk, Richard Granger rounding out the top 5. That's going to do it for your IMCA Mod Lights. Coming up next, it's going to be our California Lightning Sprints. We've got 3 heat races for the CLS California Lightning Sprint cars. Buckle up. It's got open wheel racing time here at the Bakersfield Speedway.
Probably put my glasses on so I can see. California Lightning Sprints heat race number 1 on the pole tonight. Heat race number 1, the 42, John Robertson. The outside, the 0 car of Jeremy Queener. On the inside of the second row, 2R of Rob Palmer. On the outside of the second row, the 31 of Bruce Douglas. Inside of row number 3, 25, Quick Time, Scott Kinney. And on the outside, the number 97 of Day. And in the back, the 24 of Algie.
Get up in here outside third row.
And it looks like Day will not make the call. They got some repairs going on the 97 back there. So the 24 of Algie will take that place. Six cars, 8 laps. One more lap to green. John Robertson on the pole. We call him Rockstar. When he's not racing or engineering, he's playing keyboards. Coming down to take the green. Green flag is out. John Robertson gets a little bit of a jump on the bottom, but down around the outside comes a 0, Jeremy Queener. Queener takes the lead coming out of turn 2 as Rob Palmer and the 31 of Douglas battle for third going into turn 3. Douglas makes a shot underneath Robertson and takes over second at the end of the first circuit. Jeremy Queener out front and sailing. Bruce Douglas trying to chase him down. Robertson continues to hold second as Palmer holds fourth. Third against Kenny. as Kinney tries to make moves on the 2R of Rob Palmer. Jeremy Queener out front with a 12.796. Good fast lap, but Bruce Douglas doing his best to catch him with a 12.811. Queener and Douglas pull away from the field as Rob Palmer comes to call on the 42 of Robertson as he pushes going into turn 3. Hunter Kinney looking for a way to get to the transfer. He's got one spot out right now. He's got to get to 4th to get his transfer spot. Jeremy Queener out front. White flag out this time. Jeremy Queener out front. Douglas in second. The battle for 3rd still raging on with Robertson and Palmer as Scott Kinney spins it in turn 2 as the checker flag falls. Jeremy Queener pulls off the win. Bruce Douglas second. Rob Palmer third. John Robertson fourth as Palmer got by him on the last corner. And Scott Kinney and Bronson Algie round out the rest of the field. Congratulations, Jeremy. Really surprised to see Scott Kinney get turned around there. You rarely see that. And the second heat race coming out on track right now. On the pole, the 39 of Henry. On the outside, the 2J of James Turnbull Jr. On the inside of the second row, the 25K of Hunter Kinney. On the outside, the 88B of Trevor Ballou. And on the inside of the third row, the 47 by himself. If he makes the call, that would be Denny. And I do not see him making the call. And it does not look like Greg is going to make the call. The 47 is out. The 37 of Dominic Del Monte did not make the call. And the 21K of Bobby McNovich did not make the call.
Okay, guys, coming to green. Full center start and set the pace.
So this would be a points race. All four will make the transfer, but all four of them have an opportunity to earn points. So we'll see who makes the most points here. And we'll be coming down to the green. The 39 of Henry is the pole setter. He sets the pace. And the green is out. Going into turn 1, the 2J of Turnbull makes a move on the outside to take the lead. Hunter Kinney makes his way underneath the 88B of Ballou to take second. Ballou trying to make a run back, not going to happen as Hunter Kinney hooks up and drives away. Hunter Kinney on his way to chase down the 2J of James Turnbull. Right now, James Turnbull turned 12.793 as Hunter Kinney is chasing him down with a 12.945. The 39 of Henry bringing up the rear, but doing a fine job back there. The 2J of James Turnbull out front and running away from Hunter Kinney. Ballou holding about an equal gap to Kinney. Ballou, one of our rookies, going to be battling for the Rookie of the Year this year. James Turnbull still turning 12.793s. Fast laps out of the 2J. Hunter Kinney, a 13.328 that last lap, as the white flag falls over the 2J of Turnbull. Hunter Kinney holding second, and Ballou in third. As a 39 of Henry takes the white flag. The checkered flag will fall over the 2J of James Turnbull. As James Turnbull takes the checkered flag, his motor goes south. And Hunter Kinney to finish second. Third is Ballou, and fourth would be Henry. And it sounds like the clutch is gone in the 39 of Henry. Unfortunately, that may spell the end of the night for the 39. Then next heat race coming out, third heat race on the pole, the number 17 of Dale Gamer. On the outside, the 35 JR of Dakota Albright. On the inside of the second row, the number 4 of Jeffrey Dyer. On the outside, the 8G of Eric Greco Jr. On the inside of the third row, the number 18 of Gasper, David Gasper. And on the outside, the 36 of Wyatt Boxnowski. Some fast company in this one. Those two rookies at the back, the 18 and the 36, keep an eye on those two. They are very fast for rookies. They put on a good show. One lap to green. The 17 of Gamer, the pole setter, he is going to set the pace coming to the green. Albright on the outside, coming to green. Green flag is out. 735 JR of Albright gets to jump on the outside, and Eric Greco follows him around the outside. Greco in second. Here comes Jeff Dyer around Gamer in third, and in the 17 of Dale Gamer in fourth at the moment. Gasper makes his moves around Gamer to put himself into fourth, and out front, the 35 JR of Dakota Albright with Eric Greco and Jeffrey Dyer all over him. Dakota Albright has a lot of experience in these cars, and Eric Greco has a lot of speed. Dakota Albright turns a 13.037 against Eric Greco's 12.907. Jeffrey Dyer back in third, working out that brand new Diablo chassis. Eric Greco keeps trying to make a run on Albright. David Gasper in fourth, all by himself, plenty of room, as Wyatt Boxnowski runs in fifth, and Dale Gamer in sixth. Leader Dakota Albright coming up on lap traffic already as the white flag falls. Dale Gamer is the lap car that they're going to be coming up to. Albright makes move around the outside of Gamer. Greco follows as the checker flag falls for Dakota Albright. Eric Greco second, Jeffrey Dyer third, David Gasper in fourth, Wyatt Boskowski in fifth, and Dale Gamer in sixth. Fast heat race right there with Dakota Albright and Eric Greco and Jeffrey Dyer walking away from fourth of Gasper. And that would be the final heat race for the California Lightning Sprints. Up next, John, what do we got?
Up next, this is our H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stock division. We got 19 cars in attendance for the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks inside row number one for heat number one. It's going to be the 12 of John Flippin. John Flippin in the number 1 spot on his outside. The 25B of Brooks Simmental inside row number 2. The 26S of Steven Johnson on his outside. It's the Shoe, the 2X of Jimmy the Shoe Irwin inside row number 3. The 21H of Jacob Hughes on his outside. The 10B, Trevor Baker. And in row number 4, all by himself, it's the Holders Heating and Air Conditioning Harrison Street Automotive 16 of the Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. That's going to be your lineup for heat race number 1 of the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks. We're going to roll the cushion one more time. We have a very racy racing service early here at the Bakersfield Speedway. We were a little bit heavy last week. They got it figured out just in 7 days, and we got a beautiful racing service for night number 2 of the 2021 racing season. 76 years of racing right here at the Bakersfield Speedway. Once again, a couple of laps up top to roll in the cushion. We'll get them lined up. It's John Flippin. On off nights, he is our chief steward in the 12 machine. Decided to try his hand behind the wheel this year in 2021. Jonathan Flippin inside row number 1 on the point. On his outside, Brooks Simmental, the lady driver, in the 25B. Inside row number 2, the 26S of Steven Johnson. The Shoe, Jimmy Irwin, coming out of retirement. That was our flagman for the last two years. The 2X driver, Jimmy the Shoe Irwin. Now he's outside row number 2 behind the wheel. Inside row number 3, the 21H of Jacob Hughes, the 10B of Trevor Baker and Ricky Childress Jr. The lights are out. We're getting the green flag this time off of turns 3 and 4. Green flags in the air, and here we go with our H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks heat race number 1. Flippin's going to lead him down into turns 1 and 2. Steven Johnson on his backside, nose the tail down the back straightaway. Johnson takes a peek to the inside in 3 and 4. Steven Johnson working the bottom in turns 3 and 4. Oh, Brooks Simmental getting it wrong. Lap number 1 going to the 26S of Steven Johnson. Now here comes Jimmy the Shoe Irwin up into the number 2 spot. A little bit of a push coming from Irwin in turns 1 and 2. Out front it is Steven Johnson, the 26S, trying to march away from the field. 2 laps down, 6 laps remaining. 8 laps the distance for all the heat races here tonight. Now we got a little bit of battle for the number 2 spot. They're side by side down the back straightaway to turns 3 and 4. The Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. and Jimmy Irwin side by side at the stripe. Give it to Irwin. Out front is Steven Johnson in the number 1 spot. Now Ricky Childress Jr. gets by Irwin and now comfortably in the number 2 spot. He's got his eyes set on the 26S. Here comes the Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. Halfway there, 4 laps down, 4 laps remaining. Ricky Childress Jr. throws it deep into turns 1 and 2. Now they're side by side for the lead down the back straightaway. Ricky Childress Jr. has the advantage coming off of turn number 4. We've got a new leader. It's the Outlaw Ricky Childress. It's Childress, Johnson, Irwin, Baker, and Flippin. That's your top 5. The Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. coming from dead last in the number 7 spot all the way up to the point. He throws it hard into 1 and 2 once again, rocketing down the back straightaway. It's the Outlaw. We'll get the white flag this time by. White flags in the air, 4 more corners for the Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. in the number 16. Backs it into turns 1 and 2. Steven Johnson in the number 2 spot. The Shoe, Jimmy Irwin in the number 3. 4th is Trevor Baker. Off of turn number 4, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. Steven Johnson in the number 2. Jimmy Irwin 3rd. Trevor Baker in the number 4 spot. And you'll pick up the 21H of Jacob Hughes. And Jonathan Flippin rounding out that top 5. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the 16 of the Outlaw Ricky Childress Jr. starting dead last and making it through the field, finishing in the number 1 spot. You can see a little bit of smoke out of the backside of the 16. But what a run from Ricky Childers Jr. That's going to be tough to beat. Heat race number 2 making their way to the track. On the point in the 35. Tyler Gilstrap. Tyler Gilstrap inside row number 1 on his outside. In the 119, it's Rick Henderson. Inside row number 2, Justin Quinn in the 31. On his outside, the 35W of Go to the Front, Johnny Wood. Inside row number 3, the 24 of Tyler Johnson. And on his outside, that's the C50 of Nick Kaufman. That'll be your 6-car field going 8 laps for heat race number 2 for the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks. Tyler Gilstrap, Rick Henderson, Justin Quinn, Johnny Wood, Tyler Johnson, and Nick Kaufman. The lineup is good. We'll get the one to go this time by. Lights will be going out. Green flag next time off of turn number 4. Now's the time. Nudge your neighbor. Make that friendly wager. Who's going to pick up heat race number 2? Tyler Gilstrap, Rick Henderson, Justin Quinn, Johnny Wood, Tyler Johnson, or Nick Kaufman? We'll get the one to go once again this time by. We have a couple of cars opting to start in the back of the field. Nick Kaufman and the 35 of Tyler Gilstrap. Tyler Gilstrap was supposed to be our pole sitter. Coming from San Diego, Tyler Gilstrap in the 35. Frequents Paris Auto Speedway. Decided to make the trip up here to Bakersfield, California. So he's going to go ahead and try to start in the back of the field. So your front row is going to be the 24 now of Tyler Johnson. And on his outside, Rick Henderson in the 119. Lights are out. We'll get the green flag this time off of turn number 4. So it's Johnson and Henderson. Inside row number 2 is still Justin Quinn. On his outside is Johnny Wood. Green flag's in the air, and here we go. A little bit of cat and mouse from the 24, Tyler Johnson. He'll lead him down in turns 1 and 2. Down the back straight, they're side by side for the number 2 spot. It's Henderson and Wood. Side by side into 3 and 4. 3 wide into turn 3 and 4. A little bit of contact with Henderson and Wood. That's going to bring out the caution. Caution flag will fly. A little bit of extracurriculars over in turns 3 and 4 between Johnny Wood and the 119 of Rick Henderson. Rick Henderson getting the worst of that deal around. He went in turns 3 and 4, collected the 35 of Tyler Gilstrap. So we'll see what the call is. We were going 3 wide into turn number 3 and 4 on lap number 1, and they just ran out of real estate. So a little bit of a cat and mouse game from Tyler Johnson on the initial start of the 119 of Rick Henderson. A little bit back and forth. We're going to have to get the hook out for the 35 of Tyler Gilstrap. Out front is the 24 of Tyler Johnson. And the number 2 spot's going to be the 31 of Justin Quinn from Palmdale, California. Go to the front, Johnny Wood in the number 35, sitting in the number 3 spot. And you'll pick up the 50 of Nick Kaufman. 5 cars remaining on the track. We've got 7 laps remaining in heat race number 2. Tyler Johnson picking up the loud pedal. Green flags in the air, and here we go. Johnson gets a good jump into turns 1 and 2. Quinn in the number 2 spot. Johnny Wood all over his backside. Nose to tail coming off of turns 3 and 4. Or 2. Turn number 2. They're side by side into 3 and 4. Wood's going to get that position coming off of turn number 4. Give lap number 2 to the 24 of Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson out front. Johnny Wood in the number 2 spot. Here comes Rick Henderson. Slide job city with Nick Kaufman over there in turns 1 and 2. So Henderson trying to make his way back up to the front. Tyler Johnson out front. 3 laps down, 5 laps remaining. Oh, a little bit sideways for Tyler Johnson, but he holds on. Johnson backing it into 3 and 4 once again. Now here comes Rick Henderson battling with Quinn coming off of turn number 4. They're nose to tail. He gets on the binders trying to stay off him going into turns 1 and 2. Henderson a little bit sideways down in turns 1 and 2, but he's going to get by. Quinn going down the back straightaway. Just past the halfway point, 5 laps down, 3 laps remaining. It's Johnson and Wood, 1 and 2. Henderson in the number 3 spot. Oh, Quinn gets it wrong coming off of turn number 4. That's going to put Nick Kaufman up to the number 4 position. Tyler Johnson, 5-car advantage over the 35 of Johnny Wood. Has a straightaway back to Henderson in the number 3 spot. Nick Kaufman. It's a freight train around the 1/3 clay oval mile. 1 lap remaining for Tyler Johnson. Johnson down the back straightaway. 2 more corners remaining for the number 24 out of Bakersfield, California. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Tyler Johnson picking up heat race number 2. Johnny Wood in the number 2 spot. Rick Henderson rounding out that top 3. Nick Kaufman and Justin Quinn rounding out the field. That's going to do it for heat race number 2 for the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks. Coming up next, heat race number 3. Your lineup will look like this for heat race number 3 for the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stocks. Inside row number 1 on the point, it's the number 91 of Marcus Wonkum on his outside. The 15 of Mark McCaslin. Inside row number 2, the 55 of Carl Noland. And on his outside, it's the little shoe, Kevin Irwin, in the number 2. Inside row number 3, the 80D of Dylan Wilson. And rounding up the field on the outside row number 3 in the number 20 is Travis Avila. That'll be your 6-car field for 8 laps for heat race number 3. And then we'll finish out the heat races for tonight with our Bang Energy Drink American stocks. Waiting for the 55 of Carl Nolan. Looking to start inside row number 2. Here he comes. Here comes Carl Nolan in the 55. Carl Nolan from Porterville, California. Driver up the 55, always very fast. We got a very fast heat race on our hands. Keep your eyes on the row number 2. Carl Nolan and Kevin Irwin. Couple of hot shots in the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stock division. But on the point, Marcus Wonkum is no slouch himself, and neither is Mark McCaslin. So we got a good one on our hands right here. Lights are out. Green flag this time off of turn number 4. It's Wonkum and McCaslin side by side. Pick up the green right at the cone, and here we go. Good start from the 15 of Mark McCaslin. Now here comes Kevin Irwin all over his backside, down the back straightaway there, nose to tail, down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. Irwin takes a look to the inside. A little bit of a push coming off of turn number 4. He has to get on the binders just a bit. Lap number 1 going to Mark McCaslin. They're 3 wide down the front straightaway into turn 1. McCaslin still out front. Goes high into turns 3 and 4. Here comes Kevin Irwin. Oh, picks up a big push into bottom side of 3 and 4. Able to stay off the 15 of McCaslin. Kevin Irwin going high, trying to get the high RPM run down the back straightaway. McCaslin still out front, has 3 cars into turns 3 and 4. Here comes Dylan Wilson now, putting some pressure on Wonkum for that number 3 position. Irwin taking a peek to the inside of McCaslin once again over there in turns 1 and 2. Can't quite get the run down the back straightaway, but what's he going to do in 3 and 4? Irwin still can't keep the nose down over there in 3 and 4, so McCaslin's going to lead lap number 4. We're halfway there. 4 laps down, 4 laps remaining. McCaslin now with a mistake over there in turns 1 and 2. A little bit of a push. Now here comes Kevin Irwin. They're side by side, getting closer into turns 3 and 4. Kevin Irwin gets the car to rotate a little bit better that time in 3 and 4. Now he's all over the backside of McCaslin as they go into 1 and 2. 5 laps down, 3 laps remaining. McCaslin, Irwin, Dylan, and Marcus Wonkum rounding out that top 4. Carl Nolan rounding out the top 5. Kevin Irwin's got 2 more laps remaining to see if he can work on the backside of that 15 to get around Mark McCaslin. McCaslin, Irwin, Dylan Wilson, Marcus Wonkum, your top 4. Kevin Irwin still all over the backside of McCaslin. McCaslin gets a little bit of a push. Now here comes Kevin Irwin. They're going to be side by side at the stripe. White flag in the air one more time around. Kevin Irwin with the move into turns 1 and 2. Crossover move from McCaslin. Now they're side by side down the back straightaway. Who's it going to be? Oh, McCaslin. Little bit of a push, no, a little bit of a contact, but the checker flag flies, and Kevin Irwin picking up the win over Mark McCaslin, Dylan Wilson, and Marcus Wonkum. What a finish at the end between Kevin Irwin and Mark McCaslin. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the two of the little shoe, Kevin Irwin, picking up the big battle between him and Mark McCaslin. Good, clean racing right there from the H&S Bodyworks Hobby Stock Heat Race number 3. That's going to put us right into American stock racing. So these cars do look very similar, but these are typically four-door vehicles, longer wheelbase, and these only have one-wheel drive, if you may. They do not have a locked-up rear end like the hobby stock division. Very similar motor packages, and these cars are running on a DOT street tire, and the hobby stocks are actually on an IMCA G60 this year at the Bakersfield Speedway, and these cars will be on a DOT tire. It must be under $95 a piece. No mud and snow terrain. The hot tire is typically the Cooper Cobra. All tires and wheels must be the same size and the same offset for the American stocks. Heat race number 1. On the inside, the 88K of Josh Jayden on his outside. The 27 of Anthony Sly inside, row number 2. The N2 Deep of Tristan Hook on his outside. The 15D of Dakota Brown inside, row number 3. The 53C of Junior Daves on his outside. The 72cc of Mason Conway inside, row number 4. The 7, row number 4. The 25, that's Cody Sly. Cody Sly in the 25 on his outside. The 74M of Andrew Johnston. Andrew Johnston outside, row number 4. We got 8 cars going 8 laps. Two heat races here tonight for the Bang Energy Drink American Stocks. Josh Jayden, always one to watch in the 88K, always up in the points running, flirting with a championship year after year.
The 25 did not finish the heat race. He never took the checker flag.
Running in the cushion once again. Josh Jayden, Anthony Sly, Tristan Hook, Dakota Brown, Junior Daves, Mason Conway, Cody Sly, and Andrew Johnston. That will be your running order. We're getting them crossed up coming off of turn number 2. 15 cars in attendance for the Bang Energy Drink American Stocks. This is heat race number 1. 8 cars, 8 laps. Heat race 2 will have 7 cars, still going 8 laps. One to go this time by. The lights will be going out. Green flag next time coming off of turn number 4. Josh Jayden, Anthony Sly. That'll be row number 1. Tristan Hook and Dakota Brown. Row number 2, Dakota Brown. The 2020 Richie McGowan Memorial, a main event winner in the 15D. Always one to watch. Multiple track champion out of the 15D. Lights are out. We'll get the green flag this time coming off of turn number 4. Josh Jayden and Anthony Sly. Your front row. Justin's giving him the look off of turn number 4. Green flag's in the air, and here we go. Jayden and Sly, side by side into turns 1 and 2. Josh Jayden gets the run coming off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. He goes. Now here comes Dakota Brown. Dakota Brown to the inside of Anthony Sly in turns 3 and 4. He's taking a look at the lead now. It's going to be the 15D, Dakota Brown. What a move in lap number 1. Third to first in 4 quarters for the 15D of Dakota Brown. Now here comes Jayden back to his inside. He's not giving it up that easy. Jayden's going to get by. Crossover move from Dakota Brown on the inside now coming off of turn number 4. We got a battle on our hands up front. Little bit of bumping and grinding between Josh Jayden and Dakota Brown down the back straight. They're side by side once again into turns 3 and 4. Dakota Brown down to the inside, Josh Jayden the outside. They're side by side all the way through the field. Dakota Brown leads them that time by 3 laps down. 5 laps remaining. A little mini slide job from Dakota Brown in front of the nose of the 88K of Josh Jayden. Jayden to the inside. They're battling back and forth. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Not much, though. That's good, clean racing. We got one off the pace. And big time contact over there in turns 3 and 4. That's going to bring out the yellow. Big contact over there in turns 3 and 4. The in too deep of Tristan Hook coming to a stop on the high side of 3 and nowhere to go. For the 53, I believe. That's Junior Daves. So you could see the heavy damage on the right side of Junior Daves. And Hawk, he's moving around the inside of that vehicle. Tristan Hawk, first night out, first time in the car in the in too deep. Bakersfield Speedway medical team on the spot right away. Ladies and gentlemen, the drivers are both okay. Drivers are okay. Give it up for Junior Daves and Tristan Hook. Big time contact, big time damage over there in turns 3 and 4, but the drivers are okay. Lights are going out. We're going to get the green flag this time by coming off of turn number 4. The 15D, Dakota Brown, he's out front. In the number 2 spot, the 88K, Josh Jayden. They've been battling back and forth. We're halfway through this one. 4 laps down, 4 laps remaining. Anthony Sly watching that battle in the number 3 position. Cody Sly and the 74 of Andrew Johnston rounding out that top 5. Mason Conway rounding up the field in the 72cc. Slow pace from Dakota Brown into turns 3 and 4. We'll get the green flag right here, and here we go. Good restart from the 15D of Dakota Brown and the Welcome Racing Engine number 15. Here comes Cody Sly now trying to get the RPM run on Anthony Sly. They're pushing him down the back straightaway. Out front, it is the 15D. Oh, big time slide job, the 74. The 74 trying to get 2 and 1. Ends up getting the worst deal of that. Out front, the 15D, Dakota Brown leads Josh Jayden. 6 laps down this time by. 2 laps remaining for the 15D. Josh Jayden still all over his backside over there in turns 1 and 2. They're nose to tail down the back straightaway. Anthony Sly and Cody Sly battling down the back straightaway for the number 3 spot. White flags in the air. One more time around for the 15D of Dakota Brown. Multiple track champion. Dakota Brown's out in front. Josh Jayden. He's got him by 2 cars down the back straightaway. They're side by side down the back straightaway for the number 3 position. Cody Sly trying to get by Anthony Sly. Checkered flag flies. It's going to go to Dakota Brown in the number 1. Josh Jayden in the number 3 position is going to go to Cody Sly. Anthony Sly in the number 4. Andrew Johnston in the number 5 and rounding out the field, the 72cc of Mason Conway. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the 15D, Dakota Brown. Heat race winner, number 1. Good battle between Josh Jayden and Dakota Brown up front. Out to the track is heat race number 2. Out inside row number 1. On the point, it's the 01 of Steve Johnson. Outside row number 1, the 357 of Stephen Lawler. Inside row number 2 from right here in Bakersfield, California, it's the 86C of Clay Waters. And on his outside, the 3 of Brandon Ratcliffe. Inside row number 3 in the 49C, it's Colby Ward, and on his outside, that's the 55 of Mark McCaslin. And in row number 4, all by himself, it's the 02 of Ryan Little. I believe Ryan Little is in the 88, not the 02. This is going to wrap up our heat races for the night. After this heat race, we'll get right into the A main events. First A main is going to be our Mod Lights, 20 laps the distance. Lineup is good. We should get the one to go this time by Steve Johnson from right here in Bakersfield, California. On the point in the 01. The 357 of Steve Lawless Lawler. Clay Waters in the number 86C. Inside row number 2 on his outside, Brandon Ratcliffe, Colby Ward, Mark McCaslin make up row number 3, and Ryan Little. Rounding out the field. Lights are out. We'll get the green flag next time off of turn number 4. Slow place from Steve Johnson and Steve Lawler. Clay Waters and Brandon Ratcliffe, very fast row number 2. Green flags in the air, and here we go. Steve Johnson's going to lead him down into turns 1 and 2. Big jump from Steve Johnson. Clay Waters down the inside, side by side with Steve Lawler down the back straightaway. Here comes the 55 of Mark McCaslin. Ratcliffe into the 357 of Lawler. We've got 3 around in turns 3 and 4. That's going to bring out the yellow. The yellow flag is going to be to the 49C of Colby Ward, which chain reaction, he got into the backside of the 3 of Brandon Ratcliffe, which in turn got into the backside of the 357 of Stephen Lawler. So a bit of a chain reaction there. The 49C getting a little aggressive early. 1 lap down. We got 7 laps remaining. But out front, it was Steve Johnson. Had a good jump down into turns 1 and 2, bringing Clay Waters with him. And then that's when things got a little testy from there on back. Stephen Lawler, Brandon Ratcliffe, and Colby Ward. Green flags in the air. We're underway once again with heat race number 2 for the Bang Energy Drink American Stocks. It's Steve Johnson down to the bottom side of turns 1 and 2. Now Clay Waters in the number 2 spot, and Mark McCaslin in the number 3. Ryan Little in the 88. Rounding out that top 4. Coming to the stripe this time by, it's going to be the 01 of Steve Johnson. Clay Waters now getting all kinds of pressure from the 55 of Mark McCaslin. McCaslin's now getting some pressure from the 88 of Ryan Little. Good 3-car battle for third on back. Mark McCaslin now is looking to the inside, coming off of turn number 4 underneath Clay Waters. McCaslin can't quite get the run on Waters. Waters has the RPM run off the high side of turn number 2 down the back straightaway into 3 and 4. Now Ryan Little, big time push in 3 and 4. Colby Ward into the backside of the 357 once again. But out front, it is all Steve Johnson coming to the stripe. We're just past the halfway point. 5 laps down, 3 laps remaining. Good battle for the number 2 position. It's Waters and McCaslin back and forth. Little just right there on the outside looking in. Steve Johnson has 6 cars on Waters going into turns 3 and 4. 6 laps down, 2 laps remaining for the RPM Racing Collisions. Gills Transmission 01 of Steve Johnson. Here comes Mark McCaslin now. They're going side by side down the back straightaway. That's a battle for the number 2 position. McCaslin and Waters side by side in 3 and 4. White flag will fly one more time around. It's Steve Johnson. Throw a blanket over the number 2 spot of Mark McCaslin, and Clay Waters are battling it off. down into turn number 2. Down the back straightaway they go. McCaslin has the advantage down into turns 3 and 4. Out front, it's going to be the 0-1 of Steve Johnson picking up the win, and the battle for the number 2 spot's going to go to Mark McCaslin. Clay Waters in the number 3. Ryan Little, Brandon Ratcliffe, Colby Ward, and rounding out the field will be the 357 of Stephen Lawler. And that's going to do it for the American Stocks. Give it up for Steve Johnson in the 0-1.